Online platforms TikTok, Reddit and are to be investigated by the UK's data protection watchdog over the way that they use teenagers' personal information. There are concerns about the way inappropriate content could be recommended for users. This is after a study showed that some teenage TikTok users were being suggested videos on eating disorders and self-harm within minutes of signing up for the sites. The social media company says it has industry-leading safety features and robust restrictions on the content allowed in young people's feeds. Well, among those calling for stronger online protections for young people is Esther Ghey. She is the mother of murdered teenager Brianna Ghey. Esther has written a book where she talks about losing her daughter twice, first to her smartphone, then to her killers. I spoke to Esther earlier and I started by asking why it was so important to tell Brianna's story.
It's important for me that people know who Brianna is in like a really truthful way, and it's important for me to tell my story as a parent because I think that there's so many parents that are struggling right now, and like this is a completely different world to the world that we were brought up in, and like so many parents that I've spoken to have said that they've got issues with their teenagers on social media and online, and how it's affecting their mood. And I think that quite often as a parent you feel alone, or you feel like you're not doing your job the way that you should be doing. And I think that by being completely honest in the book about mine and Brianna's relationship and the issues that we had, I hope that that makes other parents feel less alone.
You talk about the threats that young people now face online. One of your greatest fears before her death was the harm that her phone was doing to her. Who Brianna was talking to, what was she seeing? How aware were you of what Brianna was seeing? You knew something wasn't right. Did you know just how bad it was?
It was only after her death that I realised how bad it was, because a friend told me that she was accessing forums online that were encouraging her to self-harm and to have an eating disorder. And for me, as a parent, I was mostly worried, I was concerned about who she was speaking to online. And there was, I speak about this in the book, there was a time when it had gotten so bad that she changed her password on her phone so I couldn't access it, I couldn't see what was going on. But I went to the toilet in the middle of the night and I noticed that there was a light on in Brianna's room, and I went to open the door and she was sat behind the door on her phone, and this was probably like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I ended up like getting in bed and I couldn't sleep because I was so worried. And I sent an email to like a really great supportive teacher at the school that Brianna was at, just saying that I am really concerned that I will come home from work one day and I will find both of my children raped and murdered, because I didn't have a clue who she was speaking to, and I was really concerned that she was perhaps going to give our address out, because I had all of the talks with Brianna. I spoke to her about, you don't know who you're speaking to online, and it just didn't sink in. And I think that teenagers always think that they know best, and the more that I tried to protect her and the more that I tried to kind of teach her about the dangers online, the more she pushed me away.
You use an FT quote in the book: there are fewer regulations protecting children online than there are the sale of eggs.
Yeah.
Tech companies push back, and there always tends to be a conversation about parents need to do more. If smartphones were banned for under 16s, it would essentially be up to parents to implement that. There's a lot of pressure put on parents' shoulders. Is that right? Because you describe in the book the daily push and pull struggle you had with Brianna over her phone and over what she was seeing. Yet the tech companies weren't doing anything. I think you referred to TikTok in 2024 putting on a restriction about beauty filters. So they can do it.
Yeah, I don't think that it's fair that parents have to be responsible for all of this. Like, as a parent, I really struggled to monitor what Brianna was accessing online, and we had so many professionals around us. I was working really closely with the school. Brianna had counselling. She was under the eating disorder clinic. Like, there were so many professionals, and that's just to name a few. And nobody knew what to do about it. She had people come into school to discuss the dangers of the online world, and she would not listen, she would not engage. And and I was...
Is that because the whole horse had bolted? Because you do speak to a lot of parents and they feel like their children are being brainwashed. They believe everything they read on TikTok or on other social media platforms because they are so young. They don't know any different. They don't have any detachment. It's all they've ever known. We've known differently. They haven't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they are so young and impressionable, and at that age, like your social status, your peer groups, it matters so much. And I think that's why they spend so much time on social media, as well as social media is so addictive. Like even adults know that social media is addictive, and young people. And like I feel like what Brianna was experiencing, like the self-harm sites and the eating disorder sites, like that's just the tip of the iceberg as well, because you've got like misinformation, you've got like suicidal ideation. There's so many harmful things online, and I just don't think that young people are equipped to navigate that at that age. And I do really support a ban on social media for under 16s.
Since you lost Brianna, the Online Safety Act has been passed, but you want it to go further. What more would you like to see?
I would like to see a social media ban for under 16s, and it will be interesting to see what happens in Australia. And I think that, like, I'm no tech expert by any means whatsoever, but I just think it would be great if we could have a smartphone that was safe by design for young people, for say under 16s, where you can't download these apps. There's a limit to the kind of apps that you can download. Yeah, it has a calculator. You can track your child walking to school. So we haven't got all of the, because I think that quite often parents think they're giving a child a smartphone
to keep them safe.
To keep them safe, and so that they can, like, say, track them walking to school and stuff. Why don't we have more really great smartphones that are safe by design for children? So yes, that's what I would like to see. But as I say, I'm not a tech expert. Maybe it would be good to sit down with a few of them and see what we can actually do, because I think that it's not just a problem for parents. It's a problem for tech companies, social media companies, government, schools. Like everybody needs to work together to see how we can tackle this.
Because so often
this problem.
When I talk about this, the feeling is that the technology has advanced faster than legislation, the government, parents can keep up. And the need to act, the urgency to act, is such that innovation is still happening at a frightening pace. In fact, you talk about in the book that you've had a glimpse into the future with an online chat portal that allows people, including children, to talk to bots that imitate real people or fictional characters. In fact, there was one where you could talk to Brianna.
Yeah, there was one where you could talk to Brianna, and there's one where you could talk to me as well. And I think Brianna's had 10,000 visits. So that's 10,000. I don't know whether it's 10,000 people or 10,000 like actual clicks on the bot. And yeah, I think that we've not even touched on AI. I don't see how we can actually manage this and how we're going to police all of this. And I think that the only way around it is to actually keep young people off it until they're at an age where they can really identify what's real and what's not.
Well, according to TikTok, it provides teenage users with support to ensure that it is a safe platform, and it prevents overtly mature themes from reaching those users. The company says it was one of the first platforms to give parents tools to supervise their teenagers, and it says it removes 98% of content that violates its community guidelines before it is reported by a TikTok user. And if you've been affected by that story, you can contact the Samaritans at any time. 116123 is the number, or email joe@samaritans.org.